Hey internet, and welcome to No Meta Just Vibes, the MMO show for the filthiest of filthy casuals. So, I love MMOs. They're one of my favorite types of games to play. I do tend to have a problem focusing. I don't tend to stick around one game for long because I like to play a lot of different ones. But more than that, I am, as I mentioned before, a casual, like a career casual. I'm never going to min-max my character. I'm never going to do the hardest content. It sounds like a pain. It sounds stressful. I don't want that. I'm always going to prioritize things that look cool and feel fun over what's, the best numerically. Although I do, I like playing with other people, and I do want to perform my duties well and to be like a teammate, but I'm never going to be the best at the game. So lately I've been playing Guild Wars 2, and this is a game, like many, that I played at launch and have come back to a few times, usually create a new character, go through, 30 or 40 levels, and then kind of get distracted and go play something else. This is a game that I have always bounced off of. There's so many things that I like about it, but it just always something didn't completely grab me. Until this latest time that I've been playing, and I credit that to going through the expansions. Now, I've always seen a lot of cool stuff from the expansions, and I've always heard that they really improve upon the base game tremendously, but it's hard to really understand it until you play it. The expansions in this game are extraordinary. And I've only played through the first one, and even that just made the game so much more fun. And I've gotten access to a lot of the higher level stuff, and while this game is incredibly complex and really, really confusing if you're trying to progress, because that word can have a lot of different meanings here, there is so much content available. There are so many different ways that you can play the game that it really is a very customizable game in more ways than one. So I'm going to do a couple things today. The first thing I'm going to do is kind of walk you through what Guild Wars 2 is a little bit, because it is a kind of confusing game, and it's especially confusing to watch if you don't really know what's going on. And two, I'm going to review this class and tell you what I think about how this class has been put together using my own very scientific and not at all completely opinion-based scale. Because again, we're not about numbers here, we're about the vibe. So let's talk about some of the basics in case you are totally new to this game. I can't imagine this video is going to appeal too much to people who have played this game a lot, because they're going to be real sad by how bad I am. So we have our races. This is human. You are aware of what a human is. The humans were the only playable race in Guild Wars 1, and their enemies were the Char, who are now a playable race. The Char are these kind of cat-like dudes who are now, they're kind of cool with the humans. There's still some animosity there. For the most part, their war was a long time ago. We got Norn. Norn are big human, and they live in cold places. The Asura are your halfling race. They are really good with technology, and they're very smart and snarky, and a little less goofy than some of their analogs in your Final Fantasy XIVs or your World of Warcrafts, but they are still pretty funny. And then the Sylvari. The Sylvari are tree people, and they're awesome. They're kind of the elves of this game. If you do play a Sylvari, which I do on my main, the first expansion, Heart of Thorns, is extra special because their race is involved in it in some cool ways, and you get some unique dialogue. So, of course, we can choose... Actually, we're going to choose human first, because I do want to show off that the customization is really good in this game. So, let's go through our classes. We've got the Guardian. The Guardian is kind of a paladin type class. Every class in this game has a variety of options. You can do long range, short range. There are more supportive specs. There are more attack-based specs. This isn't so much of a holy trinity of tank, DPS, and healer game. Those things sort of exist, but it's much more free-form. And then you can kind of narrow down what you want to play by your class. So this is the Guardian. It's like a paladin. They use a lot of blue fire skills, and they're pretty fun. Also, you can see every class has a complexity meter here, which is cool. So this is a pretty easy class to play for beginners. Warrior is a warrior. I feel like you know what a warrior is. They hit things. I almost never play them in games, so I can't tell you anything about it. The Revenant is a class you can only play with the first expansion, and it uses the souls of dead heroes to kind of... It's kind of like a a good Death Knight if you are a World of Warcraft person. They have a very unique skill set compared to everyone else in the game, but they are a super fun class that has a lot of variety. The Engineer, they use machines. They can have, turrets, and in the new expansion, they can get a giant mech made of jade, so that's pretty cool if you're into kind of steampunk-y machine kind of stuff. A thief is a thief. They're very quick. They have a very different attacking system from everyone else in the game. Rather than cooldowns, they have an initiative system, so they kind of gain these points that you spend on your attacks, so they're very fast, very fun class to play. The most recent expansion added a very supportive kind of magic-y spec to them, which I really love playing. The Ranger is, again, nothing you're going to be too surprised by. They use pets, and they use kind of nature-y skills. I would say the pets in this game are mostly pretty cool. There is a lack of cute ones, which is why Ranger is not more on my priority list. The Elementalist is your mage, but again, there are a lot of short and long range options for them. Some of these outfits we can have a conversation about, but anyway, the cool thing is about Elementalist is that they can access 4 elements, and they can switch between them as stances, and in some of the later specs they can kind of combine them in cool ways. So really, you're the avatar. You're just the avatar. Necromancer is you can summon some gross guys to help you. I will never play this class. All their stuff is like green and evil looking, and the things they summon are disgusting, so I will not be playing this ever. Mesmer, however, is my favorite class. It's the best. They are very regal. They use illusions and clones, and they dress mostly in purple, and all their stuff looks really cool. All their spells have this cool, like, kind of glass crystal effect, so it's basically perfect for me. So let's customize a character real quick. I'm not going to actually customize, but I do want to note that this game has some of the best hair in a Western MMO. Hair is very important to me when I create a character. It is one of the most important things to me. And a lot of games, and not to generalize, but especially Western games, tend not to have great hair. But there's a lot of awesome hairstyles in this game. There's even more. There's like an in-game shop where you can get some like exclusive ones and exclusive colors. The way you feel about that being behind a paywall may vary from person to person. But one of the other cool things is that there are a lot of diverse hairstyles. There's natural curls, there's coils. I as a very, very white person, I can't speak to how accurate some of these are. I know that a lot of games do not model ethnic or natural hair very well, but it's cool that they're included. And I feel like there's a bunch of options too. A lot of games only have 1 or 2 options. Actually, this is pretty dang close to my actual hair, which is also cool because I don't get to find my hair in games that often either, because I have 3B curls. And the other cool thing is that there are a lot of ethnic faces, which is awesome. There's a lot of presets from different ethnicities, and I feel like that's super uncommon. And that just lets you make a character that you can kind of identify with and that you can enjoy. I think that's great. You can also choose kind of some options about what your path is. Most of this stuff does not matter. It affects some of the story really early on in the game, but other than that, it's nothing you have to really worry about. But yeah, it's a nice character creator for a game this old. It has a lot of customization. I don't ever do any of this stuff. I'm not gonna sit and tweak the face a lot. Will I spend an hour going through different hairstyles? Absolutely, I will. I'll do that all day. But I'm not a big face option person. But yeah, that's some of the basics of what you're gonna go through when you create a character. There's a little tutorial zone when you start the game. I feel like it on-roads you very well. This game is very easy to pick up, and it only really gets insane later on. All right, so here we are in game, and I know I kind of made fun of one of the skimpy outfits before, and now that I've logged in, I realize that my outfit is also kind of skimpy, but my person's made of tree, so it doesn't feel as gratuitous to me as a character with human skin. But a lot of MMOs have a big disparity about how the same armor will look on different genders, and this game is not free from that, but there is a lot of actually good armor you can get if you want something that's a little more covering. Anyway, so here we are in the game. These are your basic icons up top. This is my current quest. These are daily quests. These are actually usually pretty fun and pretty quick. I've never been like a daily person, but these are usually pretty nice to do, and they give you some gold and some, free stuff, so it's always good to do. So let's talk about our bar down here, because the skills in this game work a little differently from some others. So over here we have our weapon skills on the 1 through 5. Every class can use multiple types of weapon, and the weapon you choose is going to greatly affect your playstyle. You can also have 2 weapons at once, and you can use this to switch. So I have an axe and a pistol on one side and a staff on the other. So here we have our health, here we have our stamina. So you use this to dodge, and we're going to see with my class later, I actually have a unique mechanic with dodging, which is cool. Over here, we have our utility skills. So utility skills are the things that kind of fill out the rest of your kit, and you're going to see there's a lot of them. There's a ton, and this is, for someone like me, this is really overwhelming, and if you decide to boost in this game too early, this will be a little crazy for you. I don't think there's anything wrong with boosting if you kind of know how to play. But if you do it really early, it's going to be a little crazy. But each of these is kind of a different line of specialization that you can unlock. And you can kind of unlock these as you go, but at max level, you're going to have all of them. So this, for example, creates clones. This one is more about mobility. These are like mantras, which you can use to buff and debuff. And these are signets, which I believe almost every class has some of these, where you can just put this on your bar and it has a passive effect. So a lot of low buttons per minute builds, or low APM builds, will use these to kind of make you stronger and give you less buttons to push, which is great for people who are either less skilled, or if you're just tired, or if you have some sort of disability or medical need where you can't be clicking and pressing buttons all the time. So if you search a low APM build for Guild Wars 2 on YouTube, you're going to find a lot of cool stuff there. So every class, this is our menu here. We're going to go over here to our build. So we have our skills up here that we have. You can see here, these are the different weapon skills you have. And then these are our specializations. So every class has a few different lines that you can grant traits in to specialize in certain things. So this is dueling. This is about damage output as well as critical hits. And you get some special things if you evade on this. And each of these has different traits here. So right away, you can see that there's a lot of building to do in this game. And normally, I'm not a fan of that. I hate doing builds. I like being able to customize my playstyle a little bit, but if I have to spend like 15 hours on a wiki and might build my character wrong, that I hate that. The cool thing in this game is that you can change these at will. You can change them depending on the type of content you're going into, or you can just try one out and see how it suits you. These you can change at will too. So it's not as overwhelming as it would be otherwise. And again, this is something that I would recommend kind of unlocking slowly until you get the hang of it. And then down here we have our Elite Specialization. So my main class is Mesmer, which I said was kind of an illusionist. This is the Mirage. And they were with the second expansion, which is desert themed, and I'm a big fan of desert themed stuff. So they cloak themselves in rich desert sands, they execute skills and strike their foes while simultaneously dodging incoming attacks. You dance between your illusions, taking their place and deceiving your enemies. So this is a very mobile class, and it changes your kit in a lot of interesting ways. So when I'm going to judge a class and kind of review their professions in this game, but we're going to go ahead and call them classes, the things that I'm looking for are not damage potential. It's not, anything but the following criteria, scientifically proven to make a game the best. One is aesthetic. How do we look? How do our skills look? Are they flashy? Am I going to enjoy staring at them for a long time? 2, is it fun? Is it actually like a fun time to use them? Do they have skills that, make me not want to fall asleep at my desk? And 3 is the vibe. every class has kind of a class fantasy, right? You have this type of character that you're embodying, and ideally the kit should all kind of come together to make you feel like something is well designed. Not necessarily, again, in terms of numbers, but just in terms of how it feels and how it fits into the world. And that to me is super important, because even though I don't like directly role play in MMOs, I always try to embody a role in some way. So we're going to fight this guy, and we're going to see kind of how the class works. I have 2 weapons on me right now, as I said before. The first is a staff, which is a more supportive weapon. It's going to give me some cool buffs. And then the axe is going to be more for damaging and doing some cool Mirage stuff. This weapon is only available if you're on Mirage. If I switch my specialization, I'm not going to be able to use this anymore. So personally, I always try to use the weapon of the Elite Specialization, and I always try to use the Elite Specialization's utility skills. This is not ideal play, but again, I'm in it for the class fantasy. I want to use the tools that they designed for this class to kind of see what their vision for it was. But we're going to start on our staff, and I don't think I explained profession mechanics. So instead of editing to make myself look better, I'm going to do it right now. So this part of the bar is going to be different for every profession. And in my case, I have 3 illusion slots. When I make clones, they're going to fill up these slots. I can only have 3 active at a time. And you're going to see that they're able to attack for me. They can take damage for me. And then I can explode them with these skills. And every one of them does something slightly different. And you can kind of use them either at your leisure or depending on what the fight calls for. Let's talk for a second about these tooltips. Now, objectively, there's a lot of great information in these tooltips. It explains a lot of what the stuff it's showing you is. However, if we look at a skill like Chaos Armor, I'm not reading all that. This makes my eyes cross. I know that there's a lot of cool information there. I like that there's pictures telling me a lot of what it does. When you start the game, you're not going to know what a lot of these pictures mean. It's very difficult for me to read tooltips like this. I just have a hard time focusing on them. So I'm going to give you the bare minimum of what you need to know to play this class. All right, so we're gonna start with our 1 skill, and this just shoots beams that go to the enemy and to me. So over here we have confusion and torment. These are called conditions. These are bad things that I am doing to the enemy. The build I have kind of focuses on doing conditions because I think they're cool. Debuffs and buffs are more important in this MMO than in any I've ever played. And that's one of the reasons I love it. I love buffing and debuffing in games in general, and a lot of RPGs just don't utilize them very well, or if they do, you can only really use them on like small enemies where you don't really need them, and then bosses, they like don't work. But in this game, conditions are incredibly useful. They are very important to battle. And then down here, we have what are called boons, and these are buffs. So every time this ball of energy comes back to me, I get buffs. So basically, this is bad stuff for enemies. This is good stuff for me. And I think bad stuff from enemies will also appear here, but we're not going to worry about that now. So my second skill, I'm going to teleport back and create a clone. So this clone is going to fight for me. It's going to repeat this attack over and over. It's not as strong as my normal attack. And now that it's reloaded, I can use it again. And like I said, I can have up to 3 clones. This button creates phantasms. And phantasms are not clones. They do a cool attack and then become clones. And you can see one of my clones went away. Alright, so now I have 3 clones. What can I do with the clones? I can explode them. Or I can let them sit here and damage, but depending on the build you have, it's usually good to explode them. This does a lot of damage, and it puts a lot of conditions on this guy. So we're gonna go do that. They all exploded, and he got a bunch of stuff and took a bunch of damage. On this build, because I forget to use these, honestly, I focus more on doing what are called ambush attacks. So a unique trait of the Mirage is that instead of dodge rolling, which you can do in this game, I have a little cloak. And you can see if I attack after using that, I spin my staff and have a different animation. That gives me a bunch of buffs. It does more stuff to the enemy, and I have it spec'd so that my clones will do it too. And so that's kind of the basis of what I do on this build, is I generate clones and I have them use these ambush attacks to supplement my damage, to give me buffs, and to have me not forget to do these as my big source of damage. So this build revolves around giving me as many ambush attacks as possible. And a lot of this comes down to traits. I've kind of combined different parts of builds that I've seen like on YouTube, because again, we're playing for fun, not for best DPS. So this is a shield. This does good things to me. This does good things to me and bad things to enemies. Let's switch over to the axe, and then we'll look at our utility skills. So our main axe attack is this cool 3-hit combo. You get a cool spectral axe, and this is when I'm talking about vibe and aesthetic. Like this is it, man. Like this just looks really cool. It combines a little bit with the aura from the axe I'm using, and it's just neat. When I do my evasion into an ambush attack, I generate spectral axes, and then I also have it spec so that when I dodge, I gain a clone. So again, I want to gain clones as fast as possible. I don't think... I'm an idiot. I didn't mention that when I do this like Mirage Cloak thing, that counts as an evade. So I can't be hit when I do that, which is nice if you want to avoid things, but if you want to, you know, get out of the way of a telegraphed attack, it's not so great, and that's where some of these come in. But if you've ever played Final Fantasy XIV with me, you'll know that I don't get out of telegraphed attacks even when I have the ability to, so it doesn't matter. So our number 2 is a cool skill that ports you through the enemy and then generates a clone where you're standing. You have 2 charges of it before it reloads. So that's nice. We can use all the axes here. And then once you have 3 clones, you can use the 3 skill, which teleports you around the enemy. You do a cool strike. Usually follow it up with an ambush. This looks really cool. Mesmer is a very visually busy class. There's always stuff happening. There's always people around throwing stuff, and it can be a little overwhelming. But as long as you know where you are, you're fine. So let's go over my utility skills. So my first one is a heal every class, or every... Normally this would be 6 through 0. I can't hit those keys with my hands. I'm bad at moving around. I never hit the button I mean to hit. I can't even push the 1 through 5 reliably, or the F1 through F4. So if you watch gameplay of me, you're going to notice that I hit a lot of weird buttons, and it's because I don't have the dexterity for it. So I moved all these in the keybinds to kind of things around my WASD. So our first skill here is always going to be a healing skill. So mine creates this cool little oasis, and then it creates a Mirage Mirror. So a Mirage Mirror, when I hit it, you can see it gave me that shimmer, it gave me my Mirage Cloak, and if I was attacking, I would have done an ambush attack. And I use this a lot, and it almost always puts me into a pool of poison or anything I'm not supposed to be standing in. This will almost always get me into it, which is hilarious. My E skill is going to be a backstep, and again, it's going to create a Mirage Mirror, and if I hit it, you can see we all throw our axes. It counts as a dodge for me. Everyone's having a good time. Z does bad stuff to the enemy and creates a Mirage Mirror wherever I put it. So we have that. Again, I like the Mirage Mirrors. It gives me a free dodge. Sometimes, you know, I'm using the dodge over and over, and it's bad if the enemy's actually doing stuff. My elite skill, this is also like a separate kind of skill. I have Jaunt, which lets me teleport 3 times. If you teleport near an enemy, it does bad stuff to them. So we like that. And that's my kit. I usually, you know, go in staff for a bit to build up Might, which is a damage buff, and Alacrity, which lets your skills recharge faster. And once I do that, or if I'm just, you know, wanting to play it safe, this is also a really good choice. If there's a ton of players fighting one enemy, I'm probably gonna do range, because it can be kind of a lot when there's players stacked up in this game. There's tons of ground effects and tons of spells going off, and I have no idea what's going on, and my computer freaks out. So I usually just stand back and do more staff attacks when I'm, you know, playing in a huge group. So what do I think of this class? This class is one of the most fun I've ever played in an MMO. It is so mobile. It is so just fun and visceral feeling. I love the axe. I love jumping all around the map. In a game that is kind of a mixture of action, combat, and tab targeting, this has a good mixture of both. It makes me feel really cool, and that's what I want. It's got a nice class fantasy to it. You are all over the place. You feel like, and I realize this was the intent, you feel like a Mirage. Like, you feel like a real illusionist. And I imagine it's really fun to play in competitive modes. I do play a bit of PvP and World versus World, which we may talk about in another video. It's actually a miracle that I enjoy those, because normally that's not my thing. But it's just so fun. It's visually very interesting to watch. It's always fun to see all these axes kind of go into the enemy and span out. I love it. It's super fun. So as far as aesthetic, we're going to say S tier. S tier aesthetic. I mean, the armor is just kind of what I have on. I've dyed it all purple because Mesmers should wear purple, or maybe green if they want to be like Guild Wars 1 Mesmers. But the attacks themselves look really cool. They've got this cool kind of deserty, misty vibe to them. You can see my action bar actually has this cool mirage effect too, which some classes have this, some don't. Yeah, I love, like, this effect is just so nice. It trades a lot of the kind of crystalline effects for this sandy mirage effect, and it's gorgeous. What was my second criteria? It was aesthetic, fun. Oh yeah, I already talked about how fun it was. It's really fun. It's very mobile. I feel like I'm not pushing stuff all the time. It's not a crazy high APM, but it looks like I'm doing stuff all the time. Because again, I have dumb fingers. I don't want to be pushing stuff all the time. There's not like a real rotation. I kind of just use stuff as it comes up. And my goal is always just be using Mirage Mirrors, dodging as much as I can to get my ambush attacks. And it's almost like a priority system, which I always prefer to a rotation because I can't remember rotations. It takes a lot of work. And then the vibe, immaculate. S tier, incredible vibe, incredible class, one of my favorite in any game I've ever played, and I love it. And although I do like the other Mesmer specs, I feel like this is going to be the one I keep returning to. I'm leveling both of the other ones right now. Maybe I'll do a review of them when I have learned all their skills. If you would enjoy that, let me know, because honestly, I'm flying by the seat of my pants here. It's a dumb saying. I'm just kind of, I want to talk about this game, and I want to talk about MMOs in general, and my friends have all asked me politely to stop. That's not true. They're all very nice, but I can tell that they are tired of it. So I just want to talk about stuff that I like, and the Mirage counts. So if there are any other classes in this game that, if you're a fan of, that you want me to take a look at, either starting from one and seeing how they progress, or, I can go test out all their skills in the PvP lobby, let me know, and we can do that. But that's our intro to Guild Wars 2. Is this video good for anyone? Is there anyone that benefits from anything I've said here when they could go watch a video much better? Probably not. My approach is pretty casual. And so, hopefully if you are also a casual, this kind of baby step helped you understand the game a little bit more. I would love to make more videos on this game. I can kind of show you some of the stuff that I do and just kind of walk you through what it's like playing this game and discovering things, because I still am discovering a lot. I'm dipping my toe into different types of content and different types of gearing, and this game is just a lot. But there's so much freedom in it, and normally I don't like that. I'm not big on like choose your own adventure. I like things to be kind of guided with some amount of customization, but I don't love when there's too many options. I get paralyzed by choice. I don't know what to do. I don't know what I should be doing, and I end up just kind of choosing nothing. But this game has a lot of ways of making you feel like you're accomplishing something no matter what you do. So I really love that, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I am not tired of it. I still want to play it every night, and it's been a few months, which is impressive for me. So hopefully you have enjoyed this and found it useful. If you are a veteran Guild Wars 2 player, I'm deeply, deeply sorry. I am deeply sorry for reducing your game, your lovely, lovely game to this. Everyone that plays this game for the most part is very nice, and they don't deserve the injustice that I've done to them today. But my character's cool, so, you know, we all have that. Anyway, bye.